Chapter 1. The Awakening. My story begins at a time in my life when I felt like I was being prepared to make this journey. Time when I was contemplating not only a career change, but a shift in my mindset. A change that eventually led me to Jake, a Ute holy man in Toyac, Colorado, and to my destiny. After serving in the United States Army in Berlin, Germany in the late 50s, I returned to Wichita, Kansas, where I grew up with a broader understanding and compassion for people. I served in Berlin after the Berlin airlift, before the shameful Berlin Wall was ever built. Berlin was divided into 4 sectors: American, Russian, British, and French. Shortly after returning home, I reunited with my high school sweetheart, Belinda Johnson. I also started a career in aviation at the Boeing Company in Wichita. It was a career that would last for 12 years. Shortly after starting with the Boeing Company, I married Belinda. After 3 years of marriage, we purchased a home and started our family. We had a son, Jason, and a daughter, Reese. I became content at this point with my job and comfortable lifestyle. Put another way, I became content with pursuing and living the American dream. I'm sure many of my fellow Americans were pursuing the same dream. We were all raising our children, trying to instill in them the same values and goals our parents had instilled in us, which their parents had instilled in them. And like my parents, I purchased a home, worked an 8-hour day, 5 days a week, attended a church, was active in the local parent-teacher association where my children attended school, joined one of the major political parties, took a 2-week family vacation each year, and strived to save money for my children's education. I'm not saying this was a bad course, but as I looked around, it was the same course the mainstream was on. At this point, I questioned how this pre-designed course had been and instilled in so many. I suppose it was a way to keep people busy and in line with society's rules. Most certainly, those who adhered to this idea of being would not become idle and bored and try to take advantage of others or the system and violate our laws. Looking back now, I was quite content with this way of life. I was indeed living the American dream. I believed that if I continued to work hard and not violate or break any laws, I might eventually be promoted. I could obtain a higher and more prestigious position and receive a higher salary. I might extend my vacation plans from Colorado to Europe and other exotic places. I began to feel that this dream was unconsciously controlling my family and everyone I knew. We were all becoming a part of a very large industrial movement. This was the power structure many of us at that point in time had a hand in creating. This giant entity had become a way to control the masses in the world. America the Beautiful had become corporate America. We had allowed our lives to be regulated through economic manipulation and a sense of competition to acquire more and more material possessions. Occasionally, during a work break at the Boeing Company, I would allow my thoughts to wander, reflecting on what might be happening in my life. I began to see that if I continued the mainstream course I was on, I could predict my entire life, barring any sickness or accidents. It was almost as if we were all on a conveyor belt from start to finish. Most of us would experience the same ride. Some of us would gain more fame and wealth than others, experiencing a smoother ride. On the other hand, some of us might endure sickness and poverty, thereby experiencing a rougher ride. Some of us might even fall off along the way due to accidents or an unfortunate turn of events. However, one thing is certain: we will eventually all reach the end and experience death. Realizing the course I was on and where I was headed on this conveyor belt of life, I had to stop and question if this was really all I wanted out of life. Did I want fame or fortune? What kind of legacy did I want to leave? A legacy of fame and fortune? Or a legacy that had more meaning? After looking at my options, I considered charting a new course. There had to be more to my life than a predictable ride.